American Gods, 2001, is a novel by English author Neil Gaiman. The novel is a blend of Americana, fantasy, and various strands of ancient and modern mythology, all centering on the mysterious and taciturn shadow. Several of the themes were previously alluded to in his The Sandman comic book series. The book was published in 2001 by Headline in the United Kingdom and by William Morrow in the United States. It gained a positive critical response and won the Hugo and Nebula Awards in 2002. A special 10th anniversary edition, which includes the author's preferred text and 12,000 additional words, was published in June 2011 by William Morrow. Two audio versions of the book were produced and published by Harper Audio, an unabridged version of the original published edition, read by George Guidall, released in 2001, and a full-cast audiobook version of the 10th anniversary edition, released in 2011. In March 2017, the Folio Society published a special collector's edition of American Gods, with many corrections to the author's preferred text version. In April 2017, Starz began airing a television adaptation of the novel. Brian Fuller and Michael Green serve as showrunners, and Gaiman is an executive producer. Plot summary The central premise of the novel is that gods and mythological creatures exist because people believe in them, a type of thought form. Immigrants to the United States brought with them spirits and gods. The power of these mythological beings has diminished as people's beliefs waned. New gods have arisen, reflecting the American obsessions with media, celebrity, technology, and drugs, among other things. Shadow, a taciturn convict reaching the end of a 3-year prison sentence, is released from prison early when his wife, Laura McCabe Moon, and best friend Robbie Burton die in a car accident, leaving him alone in the world. Bereaved, he takes a job as a bodyguard for a mysterious conman, Mr. Wednesday, who seems to know more about Shadow's life than he lets on. Shadow and Wednesday travel across America visiting Wednesday's unusual colleagues and acquaintances until Shadow learns that Wednesday is in fact an incarnation of Odin the All-Father. Shadow meets many gods and magical creatures, including Mr. Nancy, Anansi, Zernobog, and a leprechaun named Mad Sweeney who gives Shadow a magical gold coin. Shadow tosses the coin into his wife's grave, inadvertently bringing her back from the dead as a semi-living Revenant. Shadow and Wednesday try to rally the old gods to fight the new, but most are reluctant to get involved. The new gods abduct Shadow, utilizing a group of shadowy men in black led by the mysterious Mr. World, but Laura rescues him, killing several men in black in the process. Wednesday hides Shadow first with a few stray Egyptian gods, Thoth, Anubis, and Bast. Here is Mr. Ibis, Mr. Jackal, and a common brown house cat, who run a funeral parlor in Illinois, and then in the sleepy Great Lakes community of Lakeside. Shadow meets many colorful locals in Lakeside including Hinzelman, an old-timer who spins tall tales, and Chad Mulligan, the workaday local chief of police. Lakeside is tranquil and idyllic but Shadow suspects something is not quite right about the town. While neighboring communities turn into ghost towns, Lakeside is mysteriously resilient. Disappearances of children occur with unusual frequency. Shadow is unable to investigate further, busily traveling across the U.S. with Wednesday, meeting the likes of Johnny Appleseed and the goddess Easter to solicit their help. They are pursued all the while by the men in black, particularly Mr. Town, who blames Shadow for the death of his friends. Finally, the new gods seek to parley with Wednesday, but they murder him at the meeting. This act galvanizes the other old gods into action and they rally behind a common banner to face their enemies in battle. Shadow is bound by his contract with Wednesday to hold his vigil by reenacting Odin's time hanging from a world tree while pierced by a spear. Shadow dies and visits the land of the dead, where he is guided by Thoth and judged by Anubis. Easter later brings him back to life. During his time between life and death, Shadow learns that he is Wednesday's son, conceived as part of the deity's plans. He realizes Mr. World is secretly Loki, Lysmith, and that Odin and Loki have been working a two-man con. They orchestrated Shadow's birth, his meeting of Loki in disguise in prison, and Laura's death. As part of the con, Loki had ordered Odin's murder so that the battle between the new and old gods would serve as a sacrifice to Odin, restoring his power, while Loki would feed on the chaos of the battle. Shadow arrives at Rock City, the site of the climactic battle, in time to stop it. He explains that both sides have nothing to gain and everything to lose, with Odin and Loki as the only true winners. The US is a bad place for gods, Shadow tells them, and he recommends they return home. The gods depart, Odin's ghost fades, and Laura impales Loki on a branch of the world tree. She finally dies after Shadow takes the magical coin from her. Shadow returns to Lakeside, where he finally stumbles on the town's secret. The missing children have been abducted by Hinzelman, who is a kobold. Hinzelman blessed and protected the town, making it prosper despite the hardships plaguing the rest of the region. In in exchange for the town's unwitting sacrifice of their young. After a confrontation with Shadow, Hinzelman is killed by Chad Mulligan. In Iceland, Shadow meets another incarnation of Odin who was created by the belief of the original settlers of Iceland, and is therefore much closer to the Odin of mythology than Wednesday was. Shadow accuses Odin of Wednesday's actions, whereupon Odin replies that he was me, yes, but I am not him. Shadow gives Odin Wednesday's glass eye, which Odin places in a leather bag as a keepsake. Shadow performs a simple sleight of hand coin trick, which delights Odin enough that he asks for a repeat performance. Shadow then performs a small bit of real magic. Pulling a golden coin from nowhere, he flips it into the air and, without waiting to see if it ever lands, walks down the hill, away from the god and out into the world. Characters == Shadow Moon, an ex-convict who becomes the reluctant bodyguard and errand boy of Mr. Wednesday. Laura Moon, Shadow Moon's wife who died in a car crash at the beginning of the novel a few days before Shadow is due to be released from prison. Samantha Sam Black Crow, a hitchhiking college student Shadow meets during his journey. Chad Mulligan, a kind-hearted chief of police in the town of Lakeside. Old gods. Mr. Wednesday, an aspect of Odin, the Old Norse god of knowledge and wisdom. Zernobog, the Slavic god of darkness, twin brother to Belobog, the god of light. The Zoria sisters. The Zoria sisters, relatives of Zernobog, are sisters representing the morning star, Zoria Utreniaya, the evening star, Zoria Vekernaya, and the midnight star, Zoria Polinaknaya. In Slavic lore, they are servants of Dazbog who guard and watch over the doomsday hound, Simargl, who is chained to the star Polaris in the constellation Ursa Minor, the little bear. If the chain ever breaks, the hound will devour the world. Mr. Nancy, Anansi, a trickster Spider-Man from African folklore. He often makes fun of people for their stupidity, a recurring aspect of his personality in his old stories. Mr. Ibis, Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of knowledge and writing. He runs a funeral parlor with Mr. Jackal in Cairo, Illinois. He often writes short biographies of people who brought folkloric beings with them to America. Mr. Hakel, Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of the dead and mummification. He is an expert at preparing bodies for the wake at funerals. Easter Ostry, the Germanic goddess of the dawn. Mad Sweeney, Subna, a king from an old Irish story. Though not portrayed as such in his story, he calls himself a leprechaun, and is foul-mouthed, a frequent drinker, and taller than expected. Whiskey Jack, Wissaket Jack, a trickster figure of Algonquian mythology. He lives near a Lakota reservation in the Badlands with John Chapman, where he is mistaken for Iktamai, a trickster of their culture. John Chapman, Johnny Appleseed, Loki Lysmith, Loki, the Old Norse god of mischief and trickery. Hinzelman, a kobold who was formerly revered as a tribal god by ancient Germanic tribes. He protects the town of Lakeside, in the guise of an old man, by sacrificing one child each year. Bilquis, Queen of Sheba, as mentioned in the Bible. Mama G, Kali, the Hindu goddess of time and destruction. New gods. The technical boy, new god of computers and the internet. Media, new goddess of television. She appears in the form of Lucy Ricardo from the well-known show I Love Lucy and a female news anchor. The Black Hats, Mr. World, Mr. Town, Mr. Wood and Mr. Stone exist out of the American obsession with black helicopters and the men in black. They work as spooks for the new gods. The intangibles, new gods of the modern stock market, the personification of the invisible hand of the market. Influences The novel's dedication reads for absent friends, Kathy Acker and Roger Zelazny and all points in between. Various real-life towns and tourist attractions, including the House on the Rock, and its world's largest carousel, and Rock City, are featured in the book. Gaiman says in an introduction that he has obscured some actual locales. According to Gaiman, American Gods is not based on Deanna Wynne Jones's 8 Days of Luke, although they bear an odd relationship, like second cousins once removed or something. When working on the structure of a story linking gods and days of the week, he realized that this idea had already been used in 8 Days of Luke. He abandoned the story, but later used the idea when writing American Gods to depict Wednesday and Shadow meeting on the god's namesake day. About John James's novel Woden, Gaiman stated, I think probably the best book ever done about the Norse was a book that I couldn't allow myself to read between coming up with the idea of American Gods and finishing it. After it was published, I actually sat down and allowed myself to read it for the first time in 15 years and discovered it was just as good as I thought it was. The novel shares a number of themes and images with Gaiman's comic book series The Sandman. For instance, in American Gods, Shadow dreams of thunderbirds and a mountain of bones. This is similar to The Sandman's A Dream of a Thousand Cats, in which a cat tells of a dream in which she is wandering a mountain of bones and being circled by a bird. In addition, one chapter features a young girl, described in a way similar to the Sandman's character Delirium. Also, the device of traveling around America to visit old gods was used in the Brief Lives storyline. Website tie-in While Gaiman was writing American Gods, his publishers set up a promotional website featuring a weblog in which Gaiman described the day-to-day process of writing, revising, publishing, and promoting the novel. After the novel was published, the website evolved into a more general official Neil Gaiman website. As of 2010, Gaiman regularly adds to the weblog, describing his daily life and the writing, revising, publishing, or promoting his current project. On the 28th of February 2008, Gaiman announced on his journal that for 1 month, the complete text of American Gods would be available to the public on his publisher's website. Reception The book won the 2002 Hugo, Nebula, Locus, SFX Magazine and Bram Stoker Awards, all for Best Novel, and likewise received nominations for the 2001 BSFA Award, as well as the 2002 World Fantasy, International Horror Guild and Mythopoeic, and British Fantasy Awards. It won the 2003 Geffen Award. In May 2010, American Gods was selected in an online poll to be the first one book one Twitter book. Publishing history The book was published in 2001 by Headline in the United Kingdom and by William Morrow in the United States. A special 10th anniversary edition, which includes the author's preferred text and 12,000 additional words, was published in June 2011 by William Morrow. The 10th anniversary text is identical to the signed and numbered limited edition released in 2003 by Hill House Publishers, and to the edition from Headline, Gaiman's publisher in the UK since 2005. The 10th anniversary edition marks the first time the author's preferred text has been available in wide release outside the UK. 2 audio versions of the book were produced and published by Harper Audio. An unabridged version of the original published edition, read by George Guidall, was released in 2001. A full cast audiobook version of the 10th anniversary edition, including the author's preferred text and 12,000 additional words, released in 2011. In March 2017, the Folio Society published a special collector's edition of American Gods, with many corrections to the author's preferred text version. Gaiman described it as the cleanest text there has ever been. Adaptation Stars developed a TV series from the novel with Brian Fuller and Michael Green. The series debuted in April 2017. Related works Gaiman's subsequent novel, Anansi Boys, was conceived before American Gods and shares a character, Mr. Nancy. It is not a sequel but appears to relate to the same fictional world. Anansi, the spider god of African legend, appears in both American Gods and Anansi Boys, implying a connection. Gaiman regularly alludes to works by other authors and to mechanics and themes in his own books. The characters and themes are not necessarily being used for the same ends. In an interview with MTV News published on the 22nd of June 2011, Gaiman said that he had plans for a direct sequel to American Gods. He had plans for a sequel even while writing the first book. He said he is likely to focus on new gods in the sequel. In addition to the planned sequel, Gaiman has written 2 short story sequels featuring Shadow Moon. The Monarch of the Glen, first published in Legends 2, takes place in Scotland, 2 years after American Gods. The second short story, Black Dog, was collected in Gaiman's Trigger Warning. It takes place a year later in Derbyshire's Peak District. The Terry Pratchett novel Small Gods explores a similar origin of deities. While Gaiman says that he did not read Pratchett's work, he thought they shared a worldview to Pratchett due to their same geographic origins and, more importantly, daily phone conversations. He had also sought advice from Pratchett on resolving plot elements of American Gods. Translations Americanu Diva, Latvian, ISBN 978-9934-0-2282-1. America Jumalad, Estonian, ISBN 9985-62-181-6. American Bogoi, Polish, ISBN 83-89004-10-0. ZEI Americani, Romanian, ISBN 973-733-070-6. Elam Americime, Hebrew, American Gods, Italian, ISBN 88-04-52083-3. Diases Americanos, Portuguese, ISBN 85-87193-59-7. America Bohove, Czech, ISBN 80-85911-98-1. Ameriki Bohovia, Slovak, ISBN 978-80-556-0754-2. Unotitut Jumalate, Forgotten Gods, Finnish, ISBN 951-118055-X. Amerikai Istenik, Hungarian, ISBN 9786155,155,049,000. 2705. American Gods, Spanish, ISBN 84-8431-627-0. Ameriki Bogova, Croatian, ISBN 953-220-126-2. Ameriski Bogova, Slovenian, ISBN 978-961-274-129-7. A. Serbian, ISBN 86-7436-039-4. Amerikanski Bogi, Russian, ISBN 5-17-019844-2. Amerikos Dive, Lithuanian, ISBN 9986-97-101-2. Amerikantan Releri, Turkish, ISBN 978-975-10-1904-2. American Gods, German, ISBN 3-453-40037-2. Amerikanska Gudar, Swedish, ISBN 91-37-12227-4. Amerikansk Gudar, Norwegian, ISBN 978-82-93059-50-9. Amerikansk Gudar, Danish, ISBN 978-87-713755-44-2. Traditional Chinese, ISBN 978-986-7399-84-7. ISBN 9787883593492. Simplified Chinese, ISBN 978-753-6459-50-2. ISBN 978-7-5502-9714-2. Omicron Pi Omicron Lambda Epsilon Mu Omicron Sigma Tau Omega Nu Theta Epsilon Omega Nu. O Polymos Tuntheon, The War of the Gods, Greek. American Gods, French, ISBN 978-2-290-33041-8. Bulgarian, ISBN 954-585-519-3. Korean, ISBN 978-89-6017-268-5. ISBN 978-89-6017-269-2. Amerikaans Godin, Dutch, ISBN 90-245-4261-8. ISBN 978-90-245-4261-1. Georgian, ISBN 978-9941236631. Japanese, ISBN 978-4047916081. ISBN 978-4047916098. Russian, ISBN 978-5170454716. ISBN 978-59713546559. References Gaiman, Neil, the 1st of March 2007. More Mysteries of the Oracle. Neil Gaiman's Journal, retrieved the 3rd of January 2007. External links The first 5 chapters of American Gods, released by HarperCollins. Only the Gods Are Real, a listing of all the gods and mythical beings featured in American Gods. Internet Speculative Fiction Database, Top 100 lists. American Gods ranks 2nd on the Balanced and Popular lists, and 3rd on the Critical list. And the One Book, One Twitter winner is Wired, the 29th of April 2010. John C. Abel, part of the One Book, One Twitter, 1B1T contest, selection April 2010. Full-length commentary on American Gods at the Wayback Machine, archived the 6th of October 2011.